Hi guys, welcome to the channel. This is video number 1, so you're catching us at the very beginning. My name is Mark and I have the semi-crazy idea of spending Christmas 2028 in Bangkok, Thailand. Not as a tourist, but as a resident. And on this channel, I want to record the journey, the highs, the lows, the curveballs, the minutiae, the bureaucracy, all the conversations and difficult decisions that are going to go into that. So if you're ready to join us, hop on board. So we've called the channel Destination Thailand 28 because it kind of summarizes exactly where we are at the moment. We have a destination, a dream, a bit of a target, but a whole bunch of questions as well. So nothing is set in stone, and honestly we may not get to where we want to get to. It's not just a sort of a one day, maybe, who knows type thing. It's a possible significant life move, and it's not just about traveling. This is fundamentally shifting the life that we have here in the UK to a very, very different part of the world, and that's exciting and terrifying at the same time. At its simplest, this is about whether we can move our life from the UK to Bangkok, and that sounds quite straightforward. And it probably would have been 20 years ago, or it might well be in 20 years' time, but right here, right now, there's lots of things that we need to work through and talk about and arrange before that can happen. There are businesses involved, there are careers involved, there's finances involved, there are dogs involved, and a whole bunch of practical questions that need proper answers before we can move forward. It's not retirement. I'm not old enough to retire. It's not a gap year. Those days are certainly behind me. And we don't fit sort of the typical cliche of people who up sticks and move to Thailand. And we're certainly not just chasing better weather. In fact, that's one of the things we need to work through. It's a genuine attempt to see whether we can have a better life, certainly a different life, in a way that is practical and emotionally possible. That's what this is all about. That's a solid question. I think most people tell stories like this afterwards, when they know the ending and they kind of know all the ins and outs of it, and then they edit it and they trim things and they make certain bits look easier than they are and they dramatize other parts. But I wanted to do this in a maybe a bit more honest way, and capture some of those reactions as they happen, some of those big moments, the disappointments, the elations, the first step off the plane, the first rejection letter for our visas, all of that stuff. I wanted that to be captured. And I don't want it to be too tidy. I think there's something beautiful in the messiness of the process and trying to navigate through those waters. So yes, we'll be showing you the planning, the mistakes, the doubts, probably some of the arguments that go along with it, the excitement, and the reality checks. This channel is primarily for myself and the family and the people who know us. But hey, if you guys want to join us and come along for the ride, you are very, very welcome. Equally, if what we record here and what we will be going through, if somebody else finds that useful, then fantastic. So I'm going to go into this in far more detail in a separate video, but I will say that it's not a random choice. I've been to Thailand enough times now to know that whilst it feels familiar and I really like it, I love the people, I love the culture, I love the food, I love a whole bunch of different parts of it, I'm under no illusions that visiting Thailand several times is nowhere near the same as living there. Now, that being said, whenever I have gone there, I've always done some work. So I've had a little bit of that working structure, which I think is important, and I think that helps. So yeah, we'll be exploring that gap between the liking Thailand and the living in Thailand as part of this, and we'll go into that in far more detail in a few videos' time. Again, we're going to do this pretty light for now. We'll talk about this in far more detail in coming weeks and months. For a lot of people, Thailand is beaches and islands or party town. But for us, for all lots of very practical reasons, Bangkok is the right place for us at this time of our lives. We know that it's obviously the biggest city in the country. It's a big hub and a great way to explore the region. Bangkok has, frankly, if you want to get around pretty much anywhere in Thailand, a lot of the travel has to go through Bangkok. But also in terms of the businesses that I run, that requires some travel. And so being next to Suvarnabhumi Airport and being able to travel around is going to be super important. You've got a good balance of expats and locals. You've got good, we won't need schools, but you've got good hospitals, you've got restaurants, you've got the structure and the modernity of a modern city, but with all the quirks, eccentricities and cultural nuances, and sometimes not that nuances, those differences of an Asian city. And yes, there were going to be downsides, the traffic, the heat. I mean, I went to university in London, so I'm not completely averse to city life, but my wife is not a big city person, so Bangkok is going to be a bit of a shock to her. And she's never been to Thailand before, but we'll come to that as well at some point. This is not just a random date that's picked out of nowhere. 2028 gives us plenty of time to plan, to research, to sort out the things that need to be sorted out. As I said, Verla hasn't been to Thailand before, so we've clearly got to do that. It would be unfair to sort of, hey, we're moving to Bangkok, darling. I know you've never been there, but trust me, it'll be fantastic. No, that would be deeply unfair. Hilarious, perhaps, but deeply unfair. So we gotta put time in the diary for that to happen. But critically, in addition to all the planning time to get stuff right on our side, it also gives us what I call an off-ramp in terms of family stuff. So by 2028, all our kids will have finished high school, they'll be in university, some of them may have graduated by then. So whilst I don't think there's ever a great time to sort of travel halfway around the world to live, and whilst we can't just pack up and go, the 2.5 years gives us plenty of time to sort things out and to put the different safety nets that we'll need in place, so that, again, we're doing this in a relatively responsible way. Well, look, there are some obvious gates that we have to get through for this to work. It has to work. It has to work legally. It has to work financially. It has to work for myself. It has to work for Verla. It has to work for the kids. If we travel with the dogs, big question mark. If we travel with the dogs, we've got to think about that. And it has to be a real life move, not just an extended holiday. So we've got to look at visas, and this is not, I've got a list here, but this is by no means exhaustive. We've got to look at visas, we've got to look at sort of how we're going to work from an income point of view and business stability. Can the business that I have operate out of Thailand? I believe they can, but they need to pivot, they need to tweak a little bit for that to happen. My wife is a teacher, so is that something she wants to carry on doing in Thailand, or does she want to make a change? Like I said, if we take the dogs, we've got to think about what that looks like. We've got to think about healthcare and housing and various tax implications. Is Bangkok the place for a healthy routine? I don't mean sort of physically healthy, but also mentally healthy. We've got to sort our parents. We've got to think about all those sort of things as well. So yeah, there's quite a lot of things to go through, and I'm sure half that list will be easy, half that list will be hard, but there'll be twice as many things on this that I haven't even written yet. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. The purpose of this channel is to really cover some of the practical stuff, all the gates that we've got to go through, as I've mentioned, but also some of the more uncomfortable stuff. So money, visa, business, some of the family stuff. What do we do with the dogs? Big, important conversations that I think need to be done right. Why are we leaving the UK? Why do we want to leave this country? Why Thailand? Why Bangkok? What were the other options that we looked at and that we are looking at? I'm going to Thailand in a few months' time for a bunch of reasons, and part of that will be to do a bit of scouting in some of the potential neighbourhoods of Bangkok. We're going to be talking about the cost of living, how business and remote working can operate in Bangkok. We'll talk through some of the legal and visa questions as we come to them. There's no point in doing that too soon because the visa situation of today might be very different to the visa situation in 12 months' time and again in 24 months' time. But we'll touch on that. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll talk about how you relocate pets and what that looks like. We'll have conversations with the family in terms of how overjoyed they are that we're moving halfway around the world. And I think it's also important that we talk about some of the darker sides of these things. So, you know, Bangkok has a reputation as a party town. Maybe not quite as bad as some parts of Phuket or Pattaya, but, you know, Bangkok has its own reputation. And I think it's important that we talk about that because it's, you know, it is something that people will ask and people have an interest in. And also we'll talk about what might stop this move happening. And some of that stuff will be within our power, things we decide, and some of it will be, you know, outside of our hands, things that we can't really worry too much about because we can't stop them, we can't control them. I think it's important to point out that this may all end up in glorious failure, and that's not just me hedging for the sake of it. It genuinely may not happen, but I think that process is worth documenting and finding out. So it's not guaranteed, and that's part of why I want to record this, because I think that could be an interesting conversation, you know, when we make that decision, and it could fail for a bunch of different reasons. But we still want to test it properly, because if we don't end up in Thailand, we will end up somewhere else. We will be leaving the UK. That's about the only absolute definite thing I can say. We will be leaving the UK. We've got a planned destination. Whether we end up there, well, that's what we're going to find out. The deeper question is not simply, can we move to Thailand? Yes. Yes, we can. That is not the point. Perhaps the deeper question is, what kind of life are we trying to build? What are we prepared to do to get that life? What are we prepared to sacrifice to get that life? How much graft are we willing to put in to get that life? And is the changes that we need to make worth it? So this is not a relocation guide in the classic sense, but it is perhaps a relocation question. And maybe that's the way we should look at this channel.